welcome back to Eash and Mar podcast. In today's episode, we're going to be focusing on the short story Mint Tea. Now, we want you to listen and look forward to this amazing episode.
Today we will be discussing the theme of loneliness in the old age as presented in the short story Mint Tea by the Caribbean writer Christine.
In this story, we'll be focusing on the emotional experience of an elderly person who lives a quiet and isolated life. Through the character and their daily routine, the author highlights how aging can sometimes lead to loneliness, especially when a family member or society are no longer closely involved in that elder.
So we will explore how the story shows loneliness in the old age, the emotional effects it has on the characters, and how this issue also connects to real life in many societies.
So Ish, do you know anybody that lives in your community that is like an elderly person and they live by themselves?
As a matter of fact, I do. So there's a woman through my street. Her name is Sarah, and she's very old. She doesn't live with any family, and she does everything on her own. And sometimes it's very heartbroken because if something is to happen to her, no one is there to see her, listen. She's very sad.
Okay, so now we're gonna give you an introduction to the actual story that is Minty. But first, we're gonna introduce you to our characters, right? The first one is Florence. The second one is Minnie, and lastly, Mr. Martin.
So here's a summary of the story Minty by Christine Craig. So this story is narrated in the third person by an unnamed narrator. The reader finds that the writer sticks to the theme of pity and charity as Florence takes Esmini into her home out of pity. Florence cannot understand how an 18-year-old girl is abandoned by the home with nothing but her personal belongings. One could say that the writer criticizes intuitional life and that the fact that a child can spend her early years without learning anything. That would prepare her for the world. One could say that the writer criticizes intuitional life and the fact that a child can spend her early years without learning anything. That would prepare her for the world beyond the intuition. Esmini seems lost in the outside world, having spent so long being intuitional. So Mark, could you relate this to any story you might have known?
Yes, girl. So, this is not my personal story, by the way, but there is a time that I know that there was this big lady. She was like 70 something, right? And she had a very handsome son, like very handsome. And he went out and he found a young lady, right? And this young lady was supposed to be like his fiance, right? But she didn't want this young lady to be his fiance. She wanted a next girl that she had chosen to be his fiance. But young people in love, right? so my boy said, no, he don't want the other girl. He want this specific young lady. So he brought the girl home to the mother's house, right? Just like in the story, he brought the girl home to the mother's house. The mother saw her. The mother said that she's not fit, even though the girl was very academically qualified and she had her ways, meaning that she was like a good person. She never used to abuse out nobody. She never used to dealt later party or drink or smoke or any of that. She was a good girl, right? And then the mother-in-law, I should say, she saw that and she was like, no, that is not the kind of daughter that she wants for her son, right? Which will be kind of strange, right? Because in this society that we're living in right now, I don't know why, but for some reason, when the children come of age, the boy children come of age and they have to take a wife, they always compare the girl that they're taking towards the mother, right? It's like there's always a comparison. And if the mother ain't like the daughter, no marriage. Well, at least there's some cases, right? And then there are other cases where people would like take the girl in the family. But just like Florence in the story, she was elderly. The lady was elderly, and she felt away because she thought her only son was going to go out of the house and leave her alone. And then her husband died, so it's not like she has anyone to keep her company, and there's no grandchildren as yet, right? So it feels lonely. Yeah, she's gonna feel very lonely. And then the thing about it is that when you get older, and you see the young generation, right? The young generation is coming up. They're different. Every generation is different. And when you're getting older now, there's certain things that you try to instill on them, but like they don't catch it. Up to now, some of them don't catch it. And that brings it back to her not being able to talk to anybody because, you know, the new generation, they're kind of rude. And if an old person tell them something, they're like, you can't talk to me, you's not my mother, or you's nothing to me, you know? And that's kind of rude. And if somebody tells an elderly person that, they will feel kind of hurt, right? Because they're trying to set the example for them, but they don't want to hear that. So again, it comes back to the loneliness that she has, because when you reach an age and you retire and you're gone, and you get home, there's nothing else to do. All you could do is clean your house whole day, cook food all day, and that's it. No grandpeople to look after.
Right.
Until the grandchildren come, that's when this actually gets a little, you know, excitement. Because the thing about it is that parents, especially when you're older, you get married and stuff like that, the grandmother, they always spoil their grandchildren. Things you could get away with you grandparents, which you could never get with your mother. At all, at all.
So one major effect of loneliness is shown in the story is emotional isolation, right? So emotional isolation occurs when a person feels disconnected from each other and they lack meaning of social relationship. In this story, the character experience moments of sadness and reflection, which suggested that they long for companionship or interaction.
Small activities such as drinking mint tea, by the way, mint tea is a tea, become important because they provide a sense of comfort and routine. However, these moments also highlight the quietness and solitude of the character's life. This shows how loneliness does not always appear dramatic and obvious, but can exist quietly in everyday. So isolation, right? Isolation is like when people they want to distance themselves from everybody else, and as you grow older, it naturally becomes a thing in which you want to like move away from everybody, because when you get older, your body develops differently, and there's certain things that you don't want to tolerate anymore. So it's best to go and you live by yourself.
Yeah. I mean, like old age has become very much grumpy.
Yeah.
I mean, like grumpy, yeah. You become grumpy and just want to be by yourself. Do everything on your own. So yeah, you don't really want company. But like at some point, eventually get lonely.
Yeah, you do get lonely, and same with the isolation and the loneliness. That could also lead to like depression and other things, right? But we're not getting too much into that. We're focusing mainly on the loneliness and the isolation. And isolation as humans is not a good thing. That is why God made Eve for Adam. Listen to that word. Eve for Adam, right? Good. And they just naturally need to get the company. And even with elderly people, because most people when the parents get elderly, they run and push them in the palms, which is very sad, right? But when you do that now, it makes it look like the person is kind of like a burden on the family, when they're really not, and it's not that hard to take care of an elderly person. And you could keep them around and, you know, keep them for the company, and also for like, well, me, I just tell my mother, my mother's not really elderly, but she's older, and I tell her that I need her to be around me so she can take care of the grandchildren. Because, you know, when you get older, your life get busy, and even though it's you and your husband, or you and your child father, or you and whoever it is, right, it is be busy, and you don't get the time to do everything by yourself, right? So there's like getting them there to help with that, and they can also grow and get a bond with the child and so on. But isolation is not a nice thing.
It's so nice.
The social isolation, what I've noticed, right? So in society, as people get older, they tend to like not want to be around people. I don't know if it's like for the peace that they want in their life, or if it's just like in general that you just don't want to be around people. And that would not be a nice thing, because in everyday life, as I was saying before, in everyday life, you need to have interaction with people. Whether it be you interact with your neighbors, or you interact with a bus driver, somebody come and sell, a vendor, something, you gotta interact with somebody. Because that interaction makes you feel alive, right? And if you don't have any interaction, obviously you will
It's like
not
a
feel
sunlight.
alive,
A
right?
life, yeah.
You're gonna live a dead life, as my
Right.
friends say. You'll live a dead life, and then you're gonna just live, 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 and you're gonna pass, you're gonna gone, and you don't know where you're going after. So it's best you just live your life, live it the best that you can live it. And when you get older, try your best to be around the people them that you need to be around. Because sometimes you don't need to be around everybody, honestly speaking, because some people can indeed drain your energy. But if you have good energy and you have good people around you, it is good to stay
Or even a
around.
little interaction in it, yeah.
Yeah, even
So,
a little
yeah.
interaction today. Even if it's turning on your TV. Like, you don't necessarily have to interact with a physical person. It could be you turn on your TV, you call somebody, or you reach out to somebody. I mean, in them times they used to write letters, right? But now we have, advanced with technology. You don't have to call nobody. You want to see them, you go on your phone, you tap WhatsApp, you video call, you see a whole person in America, right? Because some families don't live together. So you could just reach out and, not be socially isolated.
So as we're taught in school about groups, so normally from a baby to a child, then from child to teenager, from teenager to an adult. So normally you would have around 20 to 40 years to enjoy your life, and after that maybe then you step into old age, obviously. So like around in after child, oh shit, hold on. So in childhood, usually a child would enjoy themselves. They would run around, make mistakes, rub their hand, mug their foot, their neck, anyway. Right? So they would enjoy themselves. Then stepping into adulthood, that is when you will start working, try to get money. Then you will start get a little serious in life to look for somebody for marriage, looking for a big house, a big car, fancy house, or whatever thing. That's when you get serious. And then old age. So old age is when you will enjoy, like you retire and enjoy your little wealth that you gained when you was a little younger. And you enjoy, you want this place, want that place, and enjoy life a little. It is also a real life concern in many societies around the world. So many elderly people live alone, especially after retirement or after losing close family members. Without regular visits or social activities, they may experience long periods of isolation.
Yeah. So this comes down to society as well, because there are like certain places like in America, when the elderly people they live by themselves, there's this thing that they develop that is called life alert. So that if they fall down and they press it, they could like get like medical services come to their house. Now, we as Guyanese,
Different.
we know we Guyanese different, right? If you hear somebody fall down, you gonna run in the house and say, "Wham, girl!" Yeah, alright? Because Guyanese people are like that. We look out for each other. If you come in America, if you and your neighbor living together, you could pass by your neighbor house, you could go in your house every day. You could go in your neighbor house every day. You see your neighbor in 5 days, you wouldn't even ask a question. Because that's how they stay over there. That's the society that they have. But in Guyana, let them see you in 5 days. They don't call in and you have to ask if you're missing. Or
Right.
messaging your mother or calling your mother for ask her, hey, what buy there? That's living there. Me don't see you in 5 days. Okay, now so it all depends on the society as well. We love our Guyanese society too. You know? Love it very much.
The True Minty by Christine Craig. She sends an important message to the readers. So this story encourages society to pay greater attention to the emotional needs of elderly individuals. So this also reminds us that aging is a natural part of life and that older people deserve care, respect, and companionship.
So when you're talking about elderly people being connected and being socialized and stuff like that, what came to mind for me is that sometimes, not sometimes, most elderly people, they go to like religious places, whether it be mosque, temple, church, right? And these places sometimes have activities for them to do. Like example, a church might have a bingo night or or something to do, or a domino night, and that would be like engaging for them, and they'll get to go out and they'll get to enjoy themselves. So that's what I think it is when it comes to like social cohesion and social involvement with elderly people. Also, many churches, many mosques, many temples, they have children, like babies and toddlers, right? these when old people see children is like Christmas.
Right.
Right? They give them the money, they give them sweetie, they give them anything. Right? Sometimes they might even give them more than what they would give their own children.
Right.
It might sound bad, but that's how it.
So Minty highlights the emotional challenges that can accompany aging, particularly loneliness and isolation. Through the experiences of the protagonist, the story demonstrated how limited social interaction, lack of family support, and quiet daily routines can contribute to feelings of loneliness.
And with that, we have come to the end of this beautiful podcast. And join us next week with Eash and Mar podcast.